us.
How's it
We're
going?
back together again on YouTube. Give this video a thumbs up if you're happy that we're back together again on YouTube. So today we're talking about practical ways to prepare for marriage or to prepare to meet your future spouse. Some of the things that we're going to talk about can help you prepare for any vocation. And that's a beautiful thing. As Catholics, there are many different ways that the Lord can call us to vocation, to laying our lives down in service of the church. And the one that he called us to is the sacrament of marriage. So that's what we can offer practical advice on. But some of these will help in any vocation to which the Lord may call you.
So, what do you got? What are some practical ways that you prepared before you met me or when you were meeting me?
Well, ways that we did prepare or ways that we wish we had prepared.
True, yeah.
These are things that come up in marriage. One of the biggest things, I think, is discipline for yourself as a person. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if I cannot clean up after myself as a single person, if I cannot do my own dishes, make my own bed, keep a clean space, it's going to be really hard to thrive in marriage because you are honoring the other person by honoring their space. And we've talked about that in previous videos.
Sounds like Jordan Peterson.
Does it?
Yeah, that's what that's like one of his big things.
Oh, I didn't even know. I haven't listened to Jordan Peterson. Yeah. But I think it's so true. And I tell women this all the time. If a man cannot take care of himself, right, in any way, shape, or form, I've been having conversations with women about this. If he cannot take care of himself, he cannot take care of his family. And if I have no idea as a single woman how to take care of myself, I am not prepared to enter into a marriage and have to care for both myself and my husband and any children we may have.
Yeah, and I'm sure you expect as well for the man to lead you in that relationship anyway, right? So if he can't take care of himself, he's not capable of leading either, so he can take care of you and the family.
For sure. I think family life is, the tasks of it are, I've described them on Instagram as unrelenting. It doesn't stop. Am I right?
Sure.
It doesn't stop. We never have to stop caring for ourselves, for one another, and for the boys. There's always dishes. There's always laundry. There's always bills and insurance and all these different things that we have to keep up with. If I did not learn how to do that as a single person, and again...
Yeah, I know what you're saying is you don't have to be perfect.
You don't have to do... Yes.
Obviously.
This is not about becoming a perfect person and then you meet your spouse and then you go into marriage.
Because you're going to complement these other in different things.
You walk into marriage as a perfect person. Neither of us walked into marriage as a perfect people. And we're still not perfect people.
Yeah.
But working on that, working on my discipline of caring for myself, caring for all those things, reaps amazing fruit in marriage.
Yeah. No, I definitely and strongly agree with that. And there's a lot of different categories of discipline, right? Like you said, in regards to taking care of yourself and your own health, but also in your spiritual life or in relationship with your friends or whatever it might be, there's a lot of ways that discipline, is obviously a factor. And for me, one of the main thing was that I think I did prepare well and in a certain degree, practically, that I actually worked on was obviously my prayer life and my relationship with the Lord. I knew for myself, coming from a place, throughout my teens into my early adulthood and stuff like that, to really take my faith serious and to really grow into my own personal relationship with the Lord. So I knew that I always had that to fall back on and have that be the core foundation on which I operate, and then be able to communicate with you and then, not use you as a crutch, so to say, to bring me to the Lord. Or, use you in another way to kind of build me up spiritually, even though obviously I expect it of you in our relationship, in our marriage.
Right, to help one another grow.
Of course, yeah. But for me to have my own base foundation laid and built on that solid rock so that I could stand firm as I feel as a man, as your husband, as the dad of our kids, obviously, to stand in that and to be that pillar of faith in the family that, we can build on and go with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously everybody builds their own faith, but you get exactly what I'm saying. And so I think that is a core important thing as well. But that's something that is not even specific to, before you're getting married. I think as a single person, you should already do that regardless of what your vocation is going to be or regardless of what the Lord is going to call you to. That is the biggest thing, as an individual unit, so to speak, that I think everybody can work on. And I still work on, obviously, right? It's not that I haven't figured it out. That's definitely not.
And that's one of the things I've talked about on Instagram also, is not trying to get to a certain place of faith so that the Lord brings your future spouse, if that's what you're called to, into your life. It's not like, oh, you reach this, this
phase,
level of faith,
level, yeah.
right?
And now
then,
the Lord's like,
bing, the Lord's like, well, here he is.
Your next level. Totally. You're ready for this.
Yeah. But the Lord wants abundant life for us. And so as a single person, whatever your vocation might be, rooting yourself in the Lord is where abundant life is found. Zion and I have been talking about solar systems a lot. He asked me the other day, he said, Mom, can Jesus push Mars? And I was like, the Lord could probably push Mars if he wanted to. But what is your heart orbiting around?
Oh, nice, yeah.
Like, what is the center, like, of all of your life, where your heart is just around that thing, like the core of your life? Is a question that we should all be asking ourselves, but one that really, if you are rooted in faith, it gives you clearer eyes to see in dating, right? If I'm rooted in the Lord and this guy is treating me like garbage, I should have the eyes to see I'm looking for someone who honors me in dating, right? If I am rooted in the Lord, that it's like my life as a dating woman is about honor, is about dignity, is about leading that person and having that person lead me to the Lord. When I'm rooted in prayer, I should have clearer vision to see what am I looking for, and is the thing that I'm in, hopefully not a situationship, like, is it what my heart is longing for?
Yeah, but also in the same way, if you have that relationship with the Lord already, you're not looking for something else to fill a void or do a thing, it can only add into something and add and build onto something, instead of filling up this other void or whatever it might be that you're trying to get attention from or satisfaction from, or whatever it might be.
I understand what you're saying. I think it leads into also the sense of, like, you're not looking for your other half. Daniel is not my other half.
No.
He never will be. When we are rooted in prayer as a single person, you understand your wholeness as a person, in Christ, and you are not searching for completion. You're not searching for 50% of yourself, because you understand fully in Christ that you are 100% of yourself in Him.
But that doesn't mean that you don't have desires for all these things, or you don't have desire for this or that, or you want this in your life, of course. But the root and the core of that foundation then is laid for you to build on further.
And I talked about that recently on Instagram also. We've been talking a lot on Instagram recently about, with Salt and Gold Collection, Jess over there, and how we can idolize marriage, and kind of have some questions to look at within ourselves that goes off of that as well. Like, the desires of our heart aren't bad if we are, like, in self-awareness, looking at them and the root of them and how we're living those desires out. Anything else? To work on that you wish you would have worked on, that you did work on?
There was a lot. I think there was a good amount of things after the fact that I could have done better to, avoid a lot of conflict that we had. And I think for me, one of the big ones was humility. And working on my own humility as a guy, in a dating relationship, leading up to marriage, just in general as well. I think for a lot of guys, there's this macho culture, right? And I definitely participated in that for a long time as well, where I think, okay, I have to look a certain way. I have to lift a certain amount of weight. I have to make a certain amount of money. I have to fit into the culture and how the culture... Macho man. Yeah, but to a certain degree, you know what I mean? In the way that you speak, in the way that you address people, in the way that you treat people, and all these different things. And there's a lot that goes into building up this shield, but also this persona of, like, how the culture wants, or how I feel the culture perceives me and how I want to be perceived.
That's based a lot on pride.
It is, yeah. So for me, there was definitely a lot of pride. There was a lot of humility that I needed, to undergo, so to say, in our dating relationship. Things that came to the foreground that I couldn't just shy away from, or that I couldn't just pull up my wall or hide from, so to say, or just discard them and say I'm gonna, move on to another relationship or something like that, just because I don't want to deal with this stuff. Because I know in my heart I was so committed, to you and to figuring this out. But that was something that I could have already started a long time before I met you, to really work on these things that would really require me to be humble and to not think that I have it all together, but to take an honest look at myself and take criticism and, to really think, okay, how can I better myself instead of, better myself from a genuine point of view, instead of just bettering myself and how I think the world would want to build me up and make me better, or in what ways I should grow, and in that regard. So that was one of the main things that I would encourage you as well, is to really work on humility. If you're a guy watching this video, I'm sure the girls as well, right?
Yeah, but we all do need that, but you're just speaking your own experience.
Yeah, exactly. I think for us guys, it's easy to fall into this perception of how we're supposed to behave and what we're supposed to do, and as guys. But really, the truth is, it's a lot of times going to be just you and your wife. There's no one else there. No one else going to be looking. No one else is nothing, right? And it's just about how do you best communicate with each other. But at what point can you lay your pride aside in conflicts, you know, in arguments that you'll have, you know, in general, just in life, you know, with the big things and in the little things. And I think for us and for me personally, pride got in the way of a lot of things that just made things a lot harder than they should have been, or things took a lot longer than they should have for me to, you know, apologize for something, or for me to acknowledge that, yes, this was my wrongdoing, or yes, I can better myself in that. But so those are things that you can work on already by taking an honest, critical look at yourself. And I think that's something way easier said than done, because if I was sitting where you're sitting looking at me saying this, I'd be like, dude, you know, how am I supposed to do that? Like, I'm already, you know, that's obviously the whole issue that you're working on. I'm already fine, you know what I mean? I have nothing to work on. But I think really turn to those around you that you really trust, like your friends or your parents or your siblings or whoever it might be, and to take an honest look at yourself and think, hey, like where do I have flaws, and what are those flaws, and how can I work on those? Because sooner or later they're going to get exposed anyway, right? And save yourself a lot of hardship and a lot of, you know, just trouble by just getting it out of the way beforehand, or at least trying to.
For sure. I think some practical ways that are helpful to do that when you're a single person, like before you meet your future spouse or in dating, is asking yourself the question, and we talked about this, I think, in our video on arguments and stuff, am I quick to apologize when I've done wrong? That goes so far in marriage. If you can practice that with your siblings, with your coworkers, with your students, whoever it might be, where you can, in humility as a humble person, right, to say, I have done wrong here. I need to apologize as soon as possible for this. That, like that, having that muscle that doesn't just say like, I know I'm wrong, but I'm not going to admit it, and I'm going to be stubborn, and I'm just going to put my foot down like an old ox. Yeah,
and even though that you know that you're wrong, but you're just going to say, well, we're just not going to talk about this anymore. So actually never apologizing for it and just like discarding it and saying, okay, let's just move on, and it is what it is, so deal with it.
And those compound and compound and compound.
Yeah, they're not going to go away, obviously,
if you let them in marriage, and that can cause huge issues down the road if it's just stacked up and stacked up and stacked up and stacked up. The ability to just say, I recognize that I hurt you, or I'm so sorry, or I did this wrong, like as soon as you can. Oh my gosh, just practice it and practice it and practice it, and it gets like easier over time. Another side to that coin is being quick to forgive. Ooh wee.
Yeah.
It is so easy when someone says like, I'm sorry, and you're like, I'm not gonna accept that person's apology, blah, 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 you know? Like there's this stubbornness within us when we aren't rooted in the virtue of humility, which is a lifelong journey, right? But accepting someone's apology is a very wonderful skill to cultivate and work on before you enter marriage, before you meet your future spouse as well.
Oh, 100%, because it's, and it's not only just accepting an apology, but also moving on from that apology and not bringing that apology up after the fact. I mean, we've talked about this in previous videos, saying that, you know, once we apologize and we forgive, then it's done with, you know. Yeah, you don't bring that back up later or whatever it is. It really just disappears.
And that's something I had to work on myself, and holding grudges has been a hard thing for me, and I think I'm a lot better at it than I used to be. But really just like holding on to things, it doesn't serve you well in marriage. Like your ability to let go when someone has said, I know I've served you wrong. I'm just talking about that ability to forgive, for Daniel to say like, I was totally wrong here. And I could be mad about it for a whole entire week, right? And I hear...
And we would in the past, we'd be mad for like 2 days of like silence and giving each other a silent treatment or a thing, and just like, Wah. And which was just like something that could have been resolved in literally, you know, 30 seconds.
Right. And had we worked on that better, not even just with each other, but in our normal everyday relationships in our lives.
Yeah, because I applied that same thing, not just to you, but to other people around me, 100%. To friends, to people that I lived with, to siblings, to all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like that was just like, hey, you know, if that's the way it is, then that's the way it is. And let's see who can hold out longest. You know what I mean? That's really what it was about, you know, so... It's just pride.
100%. It's all rooted in pride. And marriage will force pride out of you if you are approaching it in the right way, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people let their pride get in the way, and that's why we see a lot of broken marriages and we see a lot of like discord and difficulty in a lot of marriages in different ways. But like, because that pride comes up and you're like, you want to be right or you're gonna hold on. And there's so much freedom in working on your ability to forgive and let go.
And I think even for me as well was the... even if you're on the other side, if you know if the argument was correct, if you know you were right, but then not to hold on to saying, hey, but I told you so, you know what I mean? Or sometimes it's even better even not to acknowledge that you were right, you know what I mean? And so also for your own pride, you know what I mean? Because pride can slip in there as well, even though you were correct and you were, you know, the person that wasn't making the mistake. You know, for pride to be on that side. And I know I've obviously experienced that as well, where you're too prideful even when you're doing the good thing, you know what I mean? So, but I also, to go back to what you were saying really quick, obviously, marriage forces all these things to come to the foreground and you're gonna be confronted with them. But marriage is not an aid for this stuff either, you know what I mean? Like that's why we're making this whole video, is how you can better prepare, you know, leading up to a marriage, stuff like that. I don't want you to think that marriage is gonna be the one-all fix-all. You know, that it's like, hey, if I go to marriage, I know these things will come up, but then I can work through them and then I'll resolve them. Oh, because that's what we did or whatever. And obviously we're, you know, in a great, happy marriage, I would say.
Right.
But we're obviously working through things every single day, right? And getting better in things and so forth.
As in everybody who's married is, right? Like everybody has different stuff from day one that comes up in marriage. For everybody, it's so different. We can only speak to ourselves. Whatever it is, your childhood comes to light, your tendencies come to light, the places where you need to work on your virtue comes to light.
Your personality, like how you deal and cope and see things and whatever it might be.
Yeah. And so I think working on your ability to forgive and move on, that coworker wronged you or whatever it is in some disagreement you might have had, and you're like, I need to practice my ability to forgive and move on. Not only just to work on yourself, but to glorify the Lord, right? There was no part in the scripture where Jesus was like, hold on to grudges, right?
Yeah, let's see how long you can hold on.
Yeah, exactly. It's forgive 70 times 7. Just like really focus on that. It serves so well in marriage. And you can practice that every single day right now if you're an unmarried person. Anything else?
Preparing with finances.
True.
And so with that, I mean, that could be a sensitive topic for people because people might have a lot of debt. Some people don't have a lot of debt.
Everybody's in a different spot.
Exactly. Make different wages or whatever it might be. But with that, I don't think it's so much about how much money do you have. Like, do you have to reach a certain threshold of, you know, this much money or make this much money or have only this much left in debt or whatever it is. Yeah. I don't think that's relevant. What I think is relevant is know how money works and know what your own spending habits are. And be aware of that. I think that's very helpful going into a relationship as well, and really prepare and how you use that and how you use money, you know, what you spend your money on, and just be aware of, you know, just in general, finances.
Yeah, absolutely. Marriage is unique in that way. Finances are a part of our everyday life. Had I become a religious sister, right, you figure out your debt and I think you'll have to eliminate that before you come in. And then finances are like taken care of, you know, like you're part of this community life and it's this shared thing among everybody. Yep. And you're not there like doing the accounting and doing the bills and things like that. Finances are a part of every single day of our lives because we are paying for insurance and paying for the lights to stay on and spending this and that or whatever on the kids and this and that and buying diapers. And it's every single day. And if you go into marriage having no clue how money works and how you manage your own money, whether that's responsibly or irresponsibly, it matters. It matters a lot in the functioning of our household, in the functioning of a relationship, because money, whether we like it or not, is a part of every single day of our marriage and will be until the day that we die.
Yeah. Then obviously you're like, well, I don't care so much about money. I just care about the person. Obviously, that's what anybody would say. That's what we say, obviously. But
I read Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover when I was 20, and I really enjoyed it. And it taught me a lot. That was a really helpful book for me. As a 20-year-old person looking at my 20s, how I can set myself up for just like peace and like success and meaning, just peacefulness in finances, not being controlled by, you know, finances or anything like that, but controlling it through the decisions that I make and the way that I plan.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That can serve really well in marriage. What is your heart orbiting around?
You.
I hope the answer is Jesus.
No, it is, of course. But no, I think those are just some practical ways. I'm sure there's a lot more of them.
Right.
But...
So as married people, we always have a million things to work on. And as single people, we did have a million things to work on. And those are some things we think are practical or that we wish we would have done.
Amen.
Cultivated a little bit more within ourselves to help set us up for a little more smoothness and success and peace that we found a little bit the hard way.
But it all worked out in the end. But it could have gone a lot smoother.
Yeah.
I'll definitely say that.
For sure. But both of us are continually looking every day at what our hearts are orbiting around.
Amen.
And trying to teach our boys to have their hearts orbiting around Jesus too. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to the channel over here. If you're not subscribed yet, we'll have more videos coming to you soon. Talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye.